Crown Vics, they're fun, but there's a downside to ownership. Having owned 3 of them in my life, there's one that I've never talked about. It was an 88. There's been some downsides to it. And I've owned old police cars before these two. I had a 79 Chrysler Newport, that was awesome. I wish I still had that. But there's been some downsides, you know, other than just the obvious. I mean, I love it because it runs on E85 and it's got enough spunk and all that, and we'll talk about the performance, but there's a little trouble to be had. The price of E85 has really jumped. It's jumped by about 70 to 80 cents a gallon. Seriously, that's quite significant. So other than the unusually small gas tanks in these cars, I feel the black and white has a smaller tank than the white one, which I'm not quite understanding. For 2 cars that are supposed to be spec'd out identically, I never had 2 cars that were identical that were so different. So, but some of the positives, the white one, great mileage. I drove it to Alabama and back. It's great, nice 4-speed transmission. That 4.6, I can't complain. It's great. But the downside, we like these cars, and I'm going to talk about the enthusiast, the hobbyist that has these cars. There's several different kinds of them. A lot of guys just drive these cars because they're cheap. But, you know, you got a lot of wannabe mall cops that tend to get them, and they kind of wreck the hobby for the rest of us. But I'll get to that. I've never driven a car in my life that's garnered more hate on the highway than one of these, especially the black and white. That's why I don't drive it that much. It's a great car. Rides smooth as glass. It's the one car that the dog will actually settle down in. But people hate it. They mistake it for a police officer, and at night a Crown Vic looks like a Crown Vic, a Grand Marquis looks like a Crown Vic. There's really no getting around it. So you just that's something you kind of have to bear with. But then also you have to deal with the local police. And in Wichita, that's no joke. Lately in Wichita, there's been a rash of guys getting pulled over and arrested for impersonating police officers. I don't know what it is. And I ran into one of these kids yesterday. I think he may think this is a joke or fun, but it's a whole lot more serious than he realizes. And these guys are wrecking it for all of us. I mean, that's kind of the downside there. So while we're out, I'm going to take the Crown Vic out, run a few errands with it, and we're going to discuss some of this stuff. Because impersonating a police officer, especially in a lot of different other states, is usually up to the discretion of the officer. These guys have gotten stupid about this. And then, consequently, a lot of the guys have gotten stupid back. But there is hope. So, let's get to town, and I got some errands to run, and we'll talk about it. About 1,700 at 60 miles an hour. This thing is smooth. But like a typical Crown Vic, the odometer is the first thing to start flaking. And these instrument clusters go out so regularly that it's actually a business. I can take this out and send it in, and there's even places I can send my cluster and have it exchanged for a new one. So it's a thing. Now, if you notice, there's a little bit of shaking. It's these craptacular tires that I bought. And this is a problem that people have. These tires for these cars, this particular size, is very expensive. So people put cheap tires on. And cheap tires are cheap tires. I paid more for the cheap tires than I did for yeah, they're expensive. So the problem is these are hard as a rock, and they don't ride worth a crap. They're not the cheapest, but they're right next door. So, excuse me, if you're going to buy one of these, you're going to be paying for tires, because they are expensive. Yeah, these were $125 a piece. They weren't, but they ride like $125 a piece. So just keep that in mind. I don't miss working there. That's right. I had 2 different stints building airplanes. I was a machinist. I'd rather be a truck driver. I've never been paid so little to do so much, to be treated so much like crap. It sucked. Okay, so I'm at a parking lot. I like coming over here. I was hoping I'd be alone, but they got something going on over there, so we'll make this quick. Let's first off talk about one of the downsides is commercially, the engine, drivetrain, and all that's easy. Cosmetically, these parts are police car only, and some of it gets really hard to find. The hubcaps and wheels, these right here, there's actually still strobes in here, and these lenses are police car only. That grill, you break that, good luck. The spotlight's really not that big of a deal. I like dual spotlights because I think it's a throwback, but whether it works or not, most people take them off anymore. Now, where a lot of people get in trouble is they're told that when you buy these cars, like this came from Purple Wave, this car is supposed to be completely stripped from the police department, and no police stuff left in it. Nothing could be further from the truth. It doesn't matter where you buy these cars, they are in various states of disassembly. I'll show you this one. I've shown it to you before, but we'll go over it real quick. Under the hood is pretty run-of-the-mill. The silicone hoses, those are kind of a cop car thing. The alternator, that was expensive. And you've got a couple different fuse blocks just because of all the lights and sirens. But under here, you still have hookups for the wig-wags, and you still have siren hookups and whatnot. And this control box right here, which is also for the wig-wag. The car also comes complete with the fuse block still in the glove compartment, and it has the complete wiring harness to run the lights, the sirens, the whole ordeal. It's all still in here. Sorry about the mess, but likewise in the trunk, I've still got the package tray. I've still got the fuse box. There's still power to all this. It's still alive. I've still got the computer fan right there. And I've still got the external power back there behind the behind the thing. Not only that, but there's strobes in these lights too. Now the 06 was completely stripped when I got it. Everything had been taken out, and I have the impression that the reason it was all taken out was because they got a brand new Crown Vic. When this thing was when the 06 was auctioned off, was the last year for the Crown Vic. So I got a feeling they got a brand new Crown Vic and literally just transferred everything from that car to their new car. But most of the time that's not the case, as you just saw. As Crown Vics are going out of service, people are just dumping them with everything in them. I know guys that have bought, the guy I bought the parts from in Oklahoma bought 2 fully coated Crown Vics, lights, sirens, stripes. The only thing they took off it was the radio. Fully functional, bought them from the police department, literally, the county auction, and drove them home. I've seen the cars come from multiple and various auctions, from being fully coated to completely stripped, depending on where they came from. This is a problem because the police department is saying that we're impersonating police officers when they're selling us the cars. They're like, well, it's your responsibility to X, Y, and Z. Oh, I didn't mention that when I bought this car, it had a license plate scanner still in it, or driver's license scanner, which I had to give back. consequently, the police denied that they had left the scanner in the car, but the fact I had it in my hand pretty much told me otherwise, that somebody pencil whipped it and nobody knew what was going on, and that's kind of a problem. You can't pencil whip things like that, but I digress. Now, this brings up some interesting legal debates, and I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV. Part of the problem is that guys are buying these cars in various states as used cars, and then being told later that it's their responsibility to repaint it, or it's their responsibility to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to dispense any legal advice. I do know that there was a case fought in court. It was on Travis Bell on VinWiki. He was had his car impounded, and they wrote him multiple tickets saying that he was impersonating a police officer. And he had proof that he actually quite literally bought the car that way. So if you buy a car that way and you go take delivery, document. I know in Tennessee and Florida, they say that it's up to the buyer's responsibility to, if you buy a two-tone police car, to paint the car. I don't see how it's my responsibility to buy a car as is and then repaint it because you don't like it. If you don't want it that way, my philosophy is you should have sold it that way. And you could probably fight it out in court. But is fighting it out in court really worth it on a car like this? I don't know. Depends on how much trouble you're in. If it's something innocent, absolutely. If you're sitting there being a whacker, you're probably going to be in a whole lot more trouble than we can help. Now, I'm going to tell you, Travis did win his case. But it did come at a cost. You know, how much crap are you willing to take? I know eventually this black and white, somebody's going to throw a fit. It's part of the reason I don't drive it that much. It's not worth the hassle. Now, the Crown Vic's going out of service, and they're not a whole lot of them still being used these days. Yeah, it's kind of starting to be a dying thing, thankfully. But I'm actually planning on this next summer probably wrapping all the white parts black until I decide what I'm going to do with it. I've got some ideas, but I think just making it one solid color will keep me out of trouble for a little while. But that's neither here nor there at the moment. Now, I used a word you all may not be familiar with, and that was the term whacker. Because some of these guys online, when they get these cars all set up like police cars, that's whack. And it's kind of one of those terms that stuck. It's kind of weird. But there's a real reason why I've never done any of that to this car, because this car can get me in trouble. This car is more of a party favor. It's not going to get me in trouble. There's really no confusing it. Well, maybe in the dark, but then you just get an angry honk and a finger. As you know, we put the party favors in, and the lights will do a little thing here and there, but there's a very real reason why I've never hardlined it. In fact, this works off the cigarette lighter. There's a very real reason to that, is because I do not want this stuff being permanently hardwired to the car. That gets you nowhere, and that can get you in a lot of trouble. But let me tell you about what I found the other day. So what I saw the other day was a kid with a 98 Crown Vic. In fact, I actually talked to him. I saw him at the car wash as I was pulling in to hose off this black and white one. I said, hey, nice car. And I got looking at it, and he had lights in the windows. He had door bars. He had a partition. He had the console. He had everything in the car. And I was thinking, this is, you're right on the edge, son. And he's like, oh, yeah, you know, we got talking. And I mentioned I had a package tray, and he's like, oh, I'm looking for one. He says, this is what I got. He opens up his trunk, and he's got all this BS bounty hunter, Dog the Bounty Hunter crap in the back. I'm thinking, well, this is a problem, because I see 3 misdemeanors and a felony right here. Those kind of people are what I do not aspire to be. Don't be one of those guys. Have fun with the cars. They're party favors. They're all beat up cars. the only real natural enemy of these cars is Cletus McFarland. But all that aside, don't be that guy. That guy can get you in trouble, and that guy can get all of us in trouble. There's a reason even why most of the police interceptor badges are taken off the cars, because they have the word police on them. And in some places, that is against the law, and they get that petty. That's why I say to act with discretion if you get one of these cars. Yeah, you can fight it, and you can probably win. You can go to court, you can spend a lot of time and waste your money, but is that what you really want to do, or do you just really want to enjoy your car? You know, it's the old, they're not quarter-mile cars, they're just fun beaters that got a little pep to them. I enjoy the hell out of them. They are zippy, they are fun, I have a great time. But you can get into a lot of trouble if you're not careful. And that's all I've been getting at. Just don't be that guy I talked about. Those guys are the ones getting in trouble. Like I said, Wichita, we've been having a lot of trouble with people impersonating the police officers. Pulling people over, this, that, and the other thing. That's part of the reason I never put a siren box in that. I don't want to do that. That's part of the reason I haven't done a lot of things. Or, you know, I've got all the stuff, but I'm more interested in the mechanics and how it works rather than mounting it to the actual car. I actually plan on maybe mounting that light bar to the black and white, but it's an orange light bar, and I'm actually planning on eventually selling this car. And hopefully I can get a good project going with that, so something will work out, and it's in the works right now. So I'm not kidding. I got siren boxes, you know, light bars, radios, and other light bars. That radio right there is actually, yeah, that's not anything that's going to go back in the car. I have a curiosity, and I'm sharing my hobby with you guys. So if you're interested in it, have fun with it. But just act with discretion, that's all I'm saying. Because you can have a lot of fun with these cars. But there has been a downside to owning them. And like with any old police cars. And truthfully, the prices of these cars are going up and up and up, and I'm hoping maybe I might sell them this next year. But that being said, that's just kind of the downside that I've noticed owning one. They've been a lot of fun, but they've been a lot of work. And you just have to act with discretion and don't be a dingus. So, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next video.